Hi, I'm Reed Hickman. I'm representing participant number 2007-2 for our game Medieval Mayhem. This card game is designed with a magical medieval theme. During a turn, players have the option to perform 3 tasks: draw a card, use spell cards, and/or attack opponents. Between turns, players may defend the attacks of others. Health points are lost as players attack. Ultimately, the winner is the last person with health points remaining. Let's take an in-depth look at Medieval Mayhem. This is the box. On the front of it we have the card emblem along with the 3 colors which represent the 3 different types of cards. If you open it up, we have the card list, the instruction sheet, and the player instruction sheet, along with the trays, the tray tokens, and the cards. If you want to set it up, all you have to do, lay out the trays, give each player 5 cards, then the remaining cards are to be set in the middle, and that is your draw pile. And right next to it will be the discard pile. So after you use a card, you set it in that discard pile. And then these are the player rule sheets which each player gets. The final thing to set up are these tray tokens. There are 16 tray tokens, and you distribute them to each player. Each player gets 4 of the same colored token. One token goes on the 20 to indicate that you have 20 health left, because everybody starts with 20 health. And the other 3 tokens are to be used if you get a status effect, and you set those on the status effect marker that you received. Next, I'm going to show you the instruction manual. This shows you everything you need to know, from the number of players, 3 to 4, the game contents, how to set up the game, like I just have, how to win the game, which is to be the last player alive with health, the 3 different card types. There are 3 different cards. The first type are spell cards. They are indicated by their green border, and they are played in the spell card phase of your turn. They are used to give you certain advantages throughout the game. The second type are attack cards. They are played in the attack card phase and are used to inflict damage and/or status effects onto other players. The third type are defense cards. They are used to reduce the amount of damage done to you by another player. They are played in response to another player attacking you. It goes through the different status effects. There are 3 status effects: Burn, Terror, and Slowness. Burn decreases your health by 1 health for 5 consecutive turns. Terror makes you skip your next turn. And Slowness makes you only able to use 1 attack card for 3 consecutive turns. It also shows you how to use your turn. You draw, which is the first part of your turn. The next step is to possibly revive. You can discard 7 cards to get 3 health back. If you use this step, then you end your turn after you do this. Now you can even do this step as a ghost. After you get down to 0 health, you become a ghost. You can still draw a card as a ghost. Once your turn comes around, you draw a card, and then if you have 7 cards you want to discard, then you can discard that and get 3 health back, and you're back into the game. It also has information of how to use the defense cards and other information. That's the instruction manual. The card list is a more in-depth description of each card. So on the cards we just have a very brief description of what they do to remind you how they're used. If you want a more in-depth decision and you're confused on this card, you can go to that card on this list. This list is split into 3 sections: attack, spell, and defense cards, and then they're alphabetically organized within those categories. So if you go to defense cards, go to mirror. This card blocks an attack and all status effects and reflects an attack and all status effects back onto the attacker, but it does 1 damage to the user. It's much more clear and much easier to understand. The final piece of instructions are these player rule sheets. These are given to each player and are like a cheat sheet to be used and just to glance at in the middle of the game. They have some of the easily forgotten information, like what the 3 status effects are and how to play out your turn. Now, I'm going to show you how to pack up the game. You get all of the cards into one pile. You put those back into the deck box. That can be set back into the game. Collect the rule sheets. Set those into the box. Collect all of the tokens. Put those back into the bag. Seal. Set that back into the bag box. Then collect all of the trays. And that's it. Very simple to unpack and pack back up. Now I'm going to show you what each player contributed. These trays were made by Thomas. I, Reed Hickman, came up with the original design of the tray. Then Thomas took that design and made it better. He did an inventor model of these trays and then 3D printed them. So they have the slots and all of the angles, so it's much easier to move the tokens over in these little slots that make it easier to pick up the tokens. The cards were a group effort. Thomas made the back design in Inventor and then put them, and then he also made the card borders. These borders are perfectly angled to be the same angle as this corner punch that we used to make all the cards. Andrew made the artwork for every card. And then I took the border, the back, and the artwork and put it all together into a publisher document and then printed, cut, and laminated all of the cards. Andrew also made the box. The instruction manual was made by me, which I printed off and laminated along with the card list. And then all of us did lots of beta testing and had family and friends play it in order to get the consensus of all of those people. That way we could have the complaints and things they weren't quite a fan of, and we tweaked it to be the best game possible. Like originally, we didn't have the revive mechanic where once you died, you were a ghost and you could discard 7 cards to get 3 health back. Originally, once you died, you were out. But after we beta tested it and found out that it was boring. Once you died, you had to wait 15 minutes in order to get back into the game. That was not fun. So we added a way to still play after you had died, which made it much better. Our intended audience range is 13 years old. We did that because if you had it much younger than that, it wouldn't be complex enough. And you wouldn't be able to have much strategy in the game, and it would get very boring for an older audience. If we made it intended for an older audience range, then it would typically be too complex, and more complex games typically take longer, and we didn't want it to be a long game. We wanted it to be something you could quickly play before an event that you had. That's why we chose the 13-year-old age range. And we chose 3 to 4 players because we figured that's a good size. Most games that have a bigger audience range, you can't play them unless you're at a party or something with a large group of people. And if you have too few people, then if you have more than 2 people, you have to wait and play games in turns. And that's just not fun. So 4 people was the average amount of people that we thought was good to play. Now, thank you for listening to our Medieval Mayhem. I hope you enjoyed it.